Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
I'm so excited to have you. Actually, you will be one of the first guests on the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast that is not directly a legal professional, but you bring a topic that is so important, especially now, right? Like after the pandemic and during the pandemic and before. It's something that we were struggling with before, but that I think the pandemic has enhanced in every industry. But in the legal industry, I think it has been silenced so much. And it's probably because we're either not aware of it because we're always on high mode and we're always on go and trying to set up, kind of burning out the fires and trying to control the caseload as much as possible. But at the end of the day, we don't really take care of ourselves and we don't really tune in and take that time for ourselves. And I know your book is amazing, which of course I want you to talk about it. And in one of your chapters, you talk about that, about how your talents can benefit others. And so let's go over that chapter and kind of your thoughts on that topic.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's delightful, and I'm excited to chat about this. Yeah, not being a legal professional, we still go through those same kinds of things. We have things that knock us on our butt, and then I think a lot of times what we do is we end up just playing it safe. And we don't put ourselves out there. We follow the rules. We just live what I consider kind of a vanilla existence. And we may have, tons of talent and all of these wonderful gifts, but we don't put them out there because we've been smacked down. We've had something happen to us personally or professionally, or frankly, sometimes we just screw up. We make bad mistakes. We make bad relationship mistakes or career mistakes or whatever. And then we beat ourselves up and we live that existence that I have likened to being out of the ring. So my industry, not legal, but I own a martial arts school. I've been in martial arts since 1994.
So badass, by the way.
I started because my kids were doing it. It was something fun to do with my children. Never in a million years thought about like owning my own school or, being a black belt or anything like that. But, we get into these situations where something bad has happened or even something that we hoped good would happen that didn't happen. And we shut down. We don't take risks. We don't put ourselves out there. And so, I talk a lot in the book about, you got to get back in the ring. You're never going to win the fight sitting on the sidelines. You got to get in the ring. But it's really important before you get in the ring to get in the right ring. And I talk in the book about, if I go to a tournament and I'm a 7th degree black belt, but I'm never going to enter the men's heavyweight black belt division. It's just not my ring. I'm never going to go into that division. It makes no sense for me to be there. I'm setting myself up to fail. And so I need to determine what's my ring. And so I think for your listeners, if you've been in a situation that you feel like has forced you out of the ring, where you're not taking risks, where you're not putting yourself out there, where you're not letting your light shine, it's time to really think about getting back in the ring, but really assessing where that ring is. Is it this firm? Is that the right place for you? Is that particular niche of legal industry, is that your right niche, or should you be someplace else? Should you go out on your own? Should you have your own agency? I mean, you need to really assess where your skills and talents are best used, and not just for you, not just to make a living. It's not just a matter of like, can I keep a roof over my head? Can I make my mortgage payment? Can I feed my kids?
That's no longer the I guess the current narrative. I think the pandemic has taught us that multiple streams of revenue are very beneficial in any case, but especially during the pandemic. And so I agree with you on that one.
I laugh about my patchwork quilt life, but I own a studio, I own a marketing agency. So I do brand strategy and I do organizational culture and I do executive speaker coaching for small businesses here in Austin. And then I have a client in Australia. I have clients all over the place doing that sort of thing. I'm an adjunct professor at Concordia University. So I have like little bits and pieces. I weave together this tapestry. So yeah, absolutely. We need to look at what's the right place for us, and where can we best express our talents and our gifts? Because it isn't enough to just use what you have to make a living, right?
That's true.
Winston Churchill said, you make a living by what you get. You live by, or I forget exactly. I'll have to get the quote exactly, but you make a life by what you give. And yeah, you make a living by what you get. You make a life by what you give. And we need to say, you know what, I'm really good at this, or I'm really smart about this, or, it's the EQ, it's the IQ. Yes, I'm really proficient in all the technical aspects of my job, but there are areas about my personality that are really special. And I am a leader, or I'm great at, coming alongside a client who's really struggling in this area, or I'm super, super detail oriented. I'm organizationally sound. I have whatever it is. We have to assess those pieces of our personality and our professional proficiencies, say that 5 times fast, and we have to say, where can I best put those to use in service of, yes, making a living, but in service of other human beings. When we have gotten knocked on our butt, the first thing we do is retrench, we stop taking risks, and we douse our light. And then the effect is not only on us, but the effect is on the world. Like, you have gifts and talents that should be shared with the world, whatever that means. If it's a small, if your circle of influence is very small or it's huge, doesn't matter. You have something to share with the world, and you rob all of us of that if you just sit on the sidelines and you don't share it.
Oh my God, I cannot agree with you more. And it took me a while to get where I am. And please, for anyone that's listening or watching right now, know that this is not an overnight thing. Success is not overnight. Progress is not overnight. We're continuously growing and changing and evolving. That's exactly what humans do. I mean, just look at the human history of how we started and where we're at now, and the progression and technology and everything else that's assisting us, our civilization, to progress. And some might disagree of digressing, right? Because depending on what side you're on. But that is our purpose. Our purpose is to evolve. We are supposedly, according to the scientists of the world, we are supposedly the smartest species on Earth. And with that, though, comes multiple complications, right? We overthink things, we underthink things, we question ourselves 5 million times. And so we have to understand that at the end of the day, we have to give ourselves grace. I call it the mental analysis, right? Analyze your situation, analyze your personality, analyze what triggers you, analyze what actually motivates you. And once you complete that analysis, I think you'll have a really good, accurate synopsis or thesis, or however you want to call it, of really where you want to see yourself in 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, 1 month, who knows, depending on that. But I know your personal story obviously had a lot to do with your book, and you had to overcome maybe not fears, but some obstacles. Like, after you had told me this before in a prior conversation we had, where you already published it, everything's out, and then all of a sudden you're like, I never thought about that. So tell us about that.
It's interesting. The genesis of this book was a keynote speech I had done at UT. So University of Texas has this graduate women in business event, and it's all of the women who've just graduated with their MBA. And so I'm the keynote speaker, and they invite me because, I'm a woman, I have an MBA, and I'm a black belt. So it's kind of like, oh, she's a cool speaker. So I come and I do this talk. And after it was over, I had all of these women who came up to me and said, oh my gosh, that was fantastic. You should do a TED Talk. You should write a book. And what I had done was I had talked about leadership, and I had talked about resilience, and I had used martial arts as kind of a metaphor. So that kind of, was rolling around in my head for a while and stuff. And finally, a year ago, when I finally decided, I am going to write the book, but I thought I was writing this little self-help book. It was going to be 6 steps to, recovering from trauma or whatever tragedy in your life using martial arts. And so I started in this writing group, and many of your listeners will know who Seth Godin is. He's a marketing guru. He's written 30 books or something like that. Anyway, he has this writing and community group. And so I got involved with that. And the idea was that you were going to write and publish your book in a year. So I have this little self-help book. And so you publish these dailies and you get feedback from all these other writers who are doing all these, different kinds of things. And I kept getting feedback when I would write, I would share a story and it would be like, hey, I want to hear more about this. Like, how did that affect you? What were you thinking? Where were you? And, and so people were like drawing out more information from me where I was just like, no, look, do this. Here's why, blah, blah. So I started telling more stories and I started getting way more feedback about how, oh, this is such a richer book. The experience is fantastic. And so I ended up going from 6 steps to 7 steps. The whole first third of the book is memoir. It's all just telling my story from literally birth through, getting my first degree black belt. And then I go through the center section of the book is the meat and potatoes, the self-help piece. And at the end of each chapter, there are questions where the reader can go through and do that, like you're talking about, that mental analysis.
Yeah,
and
sure.
really
Which totally helps, especially when you're I like these like guidebooks. I call them guidebooks, and actually that's what my book is about too. Yours went a little above mine because I'm just not able to do that. But we all have our things.
Absolutely.
What I like about the questions is that it really like activates things that you may not have thought about, or you don't know where to start, right? Because all this is new to you, and all of this information is consuming and overwhelming sometimes, depending on where you're at in life and where you're at mentally. Kind of like what I was saying before, it takes a while to get to kind of like a peaceful state, which is what we were talking about of what happened to me this weekend. Kind of that peaceful state where you can really practice what you preach. But you need that constant reminder, right? It's not we all like, it's like a diet. You start a diet and then you just fall off the train, and then you go back up and you start another diet. It's the same concept with everything, and I think it's just the human in us. But
that's true. No, it's so true. And that's why I actually ended up in April, I published a companion journal that goes with the book, that goes even deeper. There's even deeper questions in there to really elicit those responses that are going to help move you forward, because I think a lot of times we'll look at ourselves and maybe I can think, oh, I'm good at this, but other people will notice that. All I have to do is show up and do good work. Surely somebody else will notice that. That doesn't happen. Seriously, we don't walk around with, a band playing our theme song behind us. We don't have press agents. I mean, most of us, who are walking and doing that for us. You got to do it yourself. And in order to do it yourself, you have to do that analysis and you have to believe it. And I have one chapter in the book about trusting your coach. You have to get somebody on your side who's going to believe in you, who's going to say, you know what, Cindy, you are really good at this. And when you did this, it helped someone else. And you have to start believing the other person until you can do that for yourself. Because to your point, this is not an overnight kind of thing. Takes time. This isn't like, oh, I'm just going to nail this in a month. That's not the case. So we have to get people who are going to be on our side, who are going to support us, who are going to be our cheerleaders while we're building those muscles, because you have to get to the point where you can do that for yourself. And it's not an easy thing. And we always want to downplay, oh, thanks, I mean, blah, blah, blah.
I think my favorite example of that is my mother. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening to this, but my mom does this a lot. She's most definitely the typical Puerto Rican, very outspoken, very loud. She's like 5'2". She looks like Barbie. She's blonde, blue-eyed, right? So her whole life, they called her Barbie. Legitimately, she was born in 1950, the same year that the blonde and blue-eyed Barbie came out. So, I mean, she's legitimately looks like a Barbie. And she's, short. So it works. So her whole life, she was called Barbie. And she was, very blessed to have a lot of people, tell her about her beauty and how beautiful she is. But for her, she was, I don't know if it was like a self-confidence issues or she just didn't see it that way. She just didn't look at herself as just that Barbie. My mom is super smart, very good with numbers, accounting, contracts. Like she's very, 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 very smart woman in general in life. And just common sense is like her thing, like she's very a realist, but when she used to get these compliments, and I remember one particular moment, we were at a gala. My dad was, I don't know, we were at a fancy gala. I'm not quite sure why we were there, but my dad was getting an award for something that he did in the community. And you know, in galas, we dress up nice, and I had my poofy dress and, you know, my little bun, and, you know, I was looking like a little doll as well. And so my mom, gorgeous as she is, you know, and then all dolled up, everybody was like, oh my goodness, you look beautiful, this and that. And then she goes, oh, thank you. But look at my daughter. And she kept saying, you know, she kind of like deflected, right? And kind of just said, oh, look at my husband. And I'm here for my husband. And my mom had that, still to this day has that tendency, oh gosh, you know, this was like $5, or oh my God, this was like, you know, I got it at Ross, you know, or whatever the case may be, and never actually owns it. Never says, well, thank you very much. I pride myself in keeping myself well kept, because my mom is very, you know, always made up. Like, I swear she wakes up with makeup, and she's just like that. And she does take a little bit to pick out her clothes, and she's very intentional with the way she looks, and she's always been that way, but she kind of plays it off like she doesn't. And I was like, Mom, take pride in that beautifulness that you naturally have, because you're not only beautiful in the outside, you're also beautiful in the inside, which is what people are attracted to most, not just because the way you look, because you are just a beautiful, genuine person. That's really your beauty. And I feel like, especially as women, we do that a lot. You know, we throw out these elaborate parties for our children or our family members or even our friends, and oh gosh, nothing. I did that in 2 hours. What are you talking about? I didn't plan this for like a year. Yeah. You know, it's like, of course you did. And of course you've been up since like 3 o'clock in the morning, baking the cake or doing whatever it was, you know? And so I feel like we underestimate ourselves a lot. And
you know,
I don't know what
I actually do a workshop with women, women's groups. And one of the things I do, and it has to be like a church or a work group where everybody knows each other well. And I put them in these affirmation circles. And so there'll be like, you know, between 5 and 10 at the most in an affirmation circle. And what they have to do is they have to look at somebody in the circle. They have to look them directly in the eye, and they have to affirm them in some way. So
oh my God, I just got chills.
I might look at you and say, Eva, I am so impressed with what you've done with this podcast. Your audience loves you. You have these great speakers, and you're addressing really meaningful topics. And the only thing you're allowed to do is look me in the eye and say, thank you.
Oh, wow.
That's it. And you see women.
How powerful is that? I just got chills.
And they like look around and they want to say, oh, it's nothing, you know, and it's like you have to bite your tongue. And the only thing you're allowed to say is thank you. And then we move to the next person, and they affirm somebody else in the circle. And it is so powerful. It's so powerful for us to get to that place of just gratitude. You know, if you say to me, hey, Cindy, you know, you're 5'7" and you have green eyes. Yeah. Okay. Fact. And I don't bat an eye. But if you say, wow, Cindy, I was so impressed with, you know, your book. I really love this one particular chapter, really meant something to me. And then I'm like, ooh, if I say, you know, does it sound like I'm bragging, or does it, I mean, how do I respond to that? It's ridiculous. It's simple. Yes. It's no different from you telling me I have green eyes. It's just factual. You read something, it meant something to you. And I can say, I'm so glad that you got something out of that book. That's why I wrote it. That really makes me happy to know that you got something out of that. I've had to learn how to do that. We all have to learn. It's so important. It's so important not to diminish or deflect. Hugely important.
No, and especially now in this virtual world, right? Like, well, case in point here, we're doing this virtually, and you're I think you're in Texas, in Austin, right?
I am. I'm in Austin right now. Yeah.
And I'm in Florida. So it's like, you know, that's the great thing about connecting virtually. We can connect wherever we're at in the world. But I mean, I completely miss the in-person, because like I said before, excuse me. Like I said before, in the like classrooms when I'm teaching, or when I'm doing like the speaking engagements, or when I'm doing coaching, I love that eye to eye contact. And, you know, my father, I'll never forget this. It was on my quince. And right before we did the candle ceremony, I think it was my uncle did like the prayer, like the blessing. And you know, when we pray, at least in the Catholic religion, when we pray, you know, we put our hands together and we bow, you know, as a respect. Yeah. And my father grew up Jewish. So he always said, you hold your head up high because the Lord's up there. He's not down there. Wow. And he like quietly just took his finger and raised my head. He goes, you never put your head down. You always walk with your head high. And that kind of stuck with me, right? And it's such an important moment because the quince is not just your 15th birthday. It's kind of like the transformation between being a girl to womanhood, right? Quote unquote. And it's just to show that you have yet again, you know, met another milestone. And that moment was so reflective, right? And so powerful for me. I mean, there was plenty of other moments that between me and my dad that really like hit home with me and really like molded me in the person that I am today. But that one moment always stuck with, like, I'll still have dreams about it, or I'll still, you know, kind of, it'll pop up in my head again when I'm like down or I'm, you know, going through some things. I'll remember those words and I'll remember him, you know, putting his finger and my chin up and telling me that. So I think those little moments like that as well, and having that coach, having those mentors, having that, I'm a big advocate of the support team. I don't think I would be able to do half of the things that I do if it wasn't for my mother, my husband, my cousins, my family, my friends that are always pitching in, and always I'm throwing out ideas, and you know, I'm always getting feedback from them because they are the most important people in my life. And I it's not that I'm trying, like you said, I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to, you know, think that I'm above anybody else. I'm trying to bring education. I'm trying to bring empowerment. I'm trying to really change the legal industry from the inside out. But if I can't even do that within my niche, within my community, how am I supposed to be able to do that, you know, nationwide, worldwide, wherever the universe and God wants to take me? So I think that affirmation circle is amazing, and I definitely want to join you. But I think what happens is with the virtual, we lose that, right? We lose that interpersonal, we lose that powerfulness, you know, when we can only use words so much. So how do you suggest that we, in this virtual movement, right, or this virtual, I guess, current mode we're in, how do you suggest that we do that we create those connections and those, you know, maybe not as strong as a person to person, but like at least have that foundation? Because I think connections, true connections, are super important.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And it has been so difficult. You know, I mean, I've worked remotely for, since 2006. So, you know, I've managed teams all over the planet and have done a lot of video calls. But I know most people are not used to that modality, and it's a different kind of a thing. And one of the things I've really recommended to my marketing clients is that you get really structured around your agendas and your meeting schedules. And so if you've got something booked out for an hour, you know what, book it for 50 minutes. It starts at 0, it ends at 50, and you're off, and you've got those 10-minute slots in between. And you start grabbing those so that you end up with an extra hour in your day, and you schedule these kind of situations where you're doing like a virtual coffee, where I'm going to send you a note and go, hey, you know what, do you have 30 minutes at 9 o'clock on Tuesday? And we're not going to have an agenda about work. We're just going to chat. How are you doing with all of this stuff? I mean, you've got a beautiful office. You've got a great setup. You know, how do you deal with your little ones? Because you've got little ones, you know, mine are all grown. And we just chat. We just chat, and you spend 20 minutes with another human being. You have to be on camera. And you know what? I mean, as long as everything's cool from here down, maybe you're wearing your pajamas, whatever, you know, doesn't.
I'm always wearing yoga pants, guys. Not today, though. Today I'm wearing jeans, but I usually wear yoga pants.
I'm wearing shorts. I got on
there we go. See?
You know? But you know, you just, you find a way and you make it a priority. You know, the thing is, when we're in the office, everybody talks about the water cooler, right? You just happen to be walking down the hallway and we bump into each other. Oh my gosh, how was your weekend? What'd you do? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, I'm working on this project. Do you have 5 minutes? Oh, swing by my office. We have those unintentional things where we bump into each other, and stuff happens. Sometimes it doesn't, some companies are saying, oh, it's super important. We got to be there. So we, have those unintentional things. Sometimes those are good. Sometimes they don't produce anything. I believe in a virtual world, we need to be way more intentional about those connections. And it's not that I'm going to intentionally set up a meeting so you and I can brainstorm around this project. That's important, but that's a meeting. What I'm talking about is being very intentional about connections. I want to spend 20 minutes with you. How long does it take me to make a cup of coffee or grab a cup of coffee? You get yours or whatever it is. We sit, we connect, we chit chat, and we move on, and people start, what I have found is a lot of people feel guilty, like, oh my gosh, but I'm working, it's a work day. If you were in the office, you'd be doing the exact same thing. You'd run into somebody in the hallway, you'd spend 15 minutes chatting with them. And you wouldn't think twice about it. It's not like you work at Taco Bell. You're not clocking in and clocking out. We are salaried professionals. And, and this kind of interaction is absolutely vital to mental health, to collaboration, to teamwork. All of those things are super important. So yes, see it as a value add to your day, but the way that you carve out the time to be able to do that is that you start making your meetings 50 minutes instead of an hour, 25 minutes instead of 30 minutes, and you stay on time.
That's it. I know. I always say that I have a whole thing that's actually coming out now because I haven't really written it. All I've done is like a presentation, and I do it for like law firms and things, but I've never actually created like a manual, something tangible. So I'm in the middle of that because my publishers asked me for it. But it's called the product method, and it's literally that. It's about time mastery within the legal industry and how you can manage your caseload and your personal life and your mental health and everything, like you said. I have little kids, I have a household, I have a husband, I have my doggy, which is right here chilling. And I have my business on top of all that, kind of like you, I love that analogy about the quilt, the patched quilt. I love that. I'm going to take that from you one day. But that's me. I run the podcast. I do the YouTube. I do paralegal services. Here's one of the files I was just finishing up. So, it is what it is. But I feel like once you've found that happy median, like I always loved educating. That was my thing when I was a little girl, before I met the career day. Before I was 6 years old, I always said that I wanted to be a teacher. And hilariously enough, my daughter is saying the same thing at the same age. So yeah, exactly. But I always said I want to be a teacher. I want to educate. I love the aha moments in their faces. Like I would look at I call them colleagues, but the students, I would look at them and I would be like, wow, that's awesome. They actually caught on to that, or whatever the teacher said. That reaction is what I lived off of, right? Yeah. So I finally, fast forward 20 plus years, which we're not going to say how long. Fast forward that, I finally was able to marry my two passions, which is educating and legal, because I love legal industry. I love what it does for the rest of the industries, for people, in need. It's such a different concept. And I love it because it pours out literally worldwide. It hits the White House, it hits your local community, it hits you. So it's something that you can't escape from, regardless of where you're at in the world. You're always going to have a legal matter or a legal concept, which is what I loved about the legal industry. So to my point was that finding that niche, or finding, maybe you have multiple niches, right? Education and legal industry. And finding that happy median really creates like a calm, like a peace, where it's like, no matter how hectic your schedule is, and I love that note that you just said about, cutting off 10 minutes or 15 minutes from that time slot. And I'm totally with you on that. And also having your time. My biggest thing is waking up as you before you wake up as mom, wife, daughter, friend, whatever it is, whatever your other external responsibilities are, supervisor, manager, whatever it is. Don't pick up your phone. Please don't do that. You know, just wake up as you, read that book you want to read, do the exercise you want to exercise, meditate, drink that cup of coffee, tea, water, whatever tickles your pickle. Just do what makes you happy first, because I'm a big believer, if you fill your cup first, then you can share with the rest of them.
So,
and ever since I've been doing that, ever since I wake up as not mom, not wife, not daughter, not business owner, none of that, I just wake up as Etta Rosa. I think my life has really been, I mean, I'm not going to say not chaotic, because of course it's going to go crazy and your schedule's going to go off the wall. And we even had, you know, a mishap, you know, in the scheduling. I mean, technology is going to do its thing. And again, my mantra for the year, life happens regardless. But I think once you kind of get into the rhythm, right? Once you find that really, you know, good spot, not comfortable, because if in your comfort zone, you're not doing it right.
Exactly.
But once you're in that little zone and you're going at it and you're doing things that are outside your comfort zone, and you're feeling good about yourself and your accomplishments, that is, for me, is what success and balance looks like, right?
Yeah, totally agree. Completely agree.
But anyways, it was awesome having you, Cindy. I
Thank
appreciate
you so
your time.
much. Absolutely.
I appreciate you. I mean, we got to hang out. We got to do that 20-minute slot.
I'd love it. And you know, I live in Florida, so
yes,
we got to connect. Yeah.
I mean, we got to go in the car and actually meet each other.
Perfect. Love it.
But awesome. So when you're back in Florida, let me know.
I will holler at you.
Awesome. But definitely awesome having you on the podcast. Guys, please check out your book. Let them know where they can get it and let them know the name and all that good stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, so your best bet is to go to my website, which is cindyvillanueva.com. And you can get the book in paperback on Amazon. You can get the audiobook on a variety of different places. You can get the hardbound off of barnesandnoble.com. There is a companion journal that's on amazon.com, and the ebook as well. If you prefer to read it on your laptop or on your Kindle, you can get that on amazon.com as well. So yeah, it's in a variety of things. And I think we were going to do a giveaway too. So
yes, oh my God,
you are interested in getting a signed copy of the book, by all means, go to my website, sign up. There's a place where you can sign up there, and we will do a random drawing, and then I will look at it and we'll do a random drawing. So somebody will get a signed copy of the book. Happy to send that over to you. I just happen to have one right here.
Don't fight mad.
Don't fight mad.
I love it. I love it. I just love you. I love your brand. I love what you stand for. And that's really why I had you on the podcast, because I'm very picky about who I bring on, but I just
honored.
Love your aura.
Delightful. Thank you so much.
So definitely the links will be in the description, guys, on the podcast and on the YouTube. So you can just click on those links and it will take you straight to the giveaway and straight to Cindy, and you have full access to her from there on. So definitely thank you so much again. I can't wait for that cup of coffee. I'm waiting for it.
Sounds great.